Hey everybody, welcome to Monday, and we get to talk gaming news today. Yay! There's actually gaming news stories. Now, I had my second COVID vaccine on Friday, and that second Moderna shot is no joke. I'm still not 100%. I'm much better than I was yesterday. But my arm is still sort of sore, and I'm still a little bit dizzy. So if I zone out or something like that, just telling you now, like I left my bike in the shot, I'm not all there. If you enjoy watching me make content under circumstances like this and still hopefully makes sense, help support this channel, become a monthly patron, patreon.com/LeannaK. Patreon for people like me is super important because I don't have deep pockets like companies like Netflix. And that segue, as somewhat awkward as it was, is because what we're talking about today is Netflix making forays into streaming gaming, we can only assume. Now, this is not completely new. We have known since the spring that Netflix was looking to hire an executive to lead its push into gaming. We now know who this executive is. And in my opinion, it's not great. It's Mike Verdu, previously of Get Ready to Get Play to Win, casual, like free-to-play bingo, Zynga, EA Mobile for a year, ran EA Mobile for one whole year, and Facebook, a series of Oculus game developers. Now the Oculus, all right, fine, though the Oculus Rift made me puke my guts out. But Zynga and EA Mobile, like if it had been a guy at EA that worked with indie devs, I think we'd all feel a little bit differently. The minute you hear EA, it's like, oh, Vortex of Suck in 3, 2, right? But not every EA executive is as bad as others. And that EA Mobile, formerly EA Play brand, like it is the worst of the worst in terms of just sucking money out of that 3% conversion group that mobile gaming and like Facebook gaming and all that stuff makes its money on. Now, again, the Facebook Oculus division is not the same as Facebook gaming, you know, that you play on your iPad or something like that. So I want to be really clear that he's not like the Zynga end, yes, he doesn't have complete cover there. I just want to be very fair. I want to continue to be fair by saying there is a way that gaming on Netflix could work. If they took the same approach that they did when they started getting into original content, meaning make high quality Japanese adventure or visual novel style games with like, you know, more Western graphics, or created really great full motion video games that you can just interact very simply with, you know, existing Netflix controls, because you've either got the remote for your TV or, you know, your touch on your tablet or your keyboard or whatever. That could be a very interesting extension of its brand. That's not what it seems that they're planning to do. According to an earnings call in April, what they're trying to do is, we're in the business of creating these amazing deep universes and compelling characters, and people come to love those universes, and they want to immerse themselves more deeply and get to know the characters better and their backstories and all that stuff. And so really, we're trying to figure out what are all these different ways that we can increase those points of connection. We can deepen that fandom. And certainly games is a really interesting component of that. And there's no doubt that games are going to be an important form of entertainment, an important sort of modality to blah, blah, blah. And then it says, and we'll continue to learn and figure it out as we go. Now, It notes that Netflix has done a couple of forays into gaming, the interactive feature Black Mirror Bandersnatch, which is, that full motion video concept. Only full motion video games are a much deeper experience. And then the Carmen Sandiego mobile game, which I tried it didn't really work that well. But what it sounds to me like is they basically want to make tie-in games to properties like Lucifer and Sweet Tooth and House of Cards back in the day, and continue to make money off the IPs without necessarily paying the actors much more, because you can just animate, you can get them to sign away their likeness in contracts, and then, Warrior Nun the game, right? Which in a way makes sense because they have these properties that tend to be more sort of nerd action driven, but you don't hire a Zynga and EA mobile game if you want to make, an interesting story driven RPG, right? If they hired like a former Telltale executive, I'd be like, oh, I think I see where they're going with this. Or, they want to do those shitty Walking Dead games, right? They're probably not even going to be like Netflix things. It's going to be stuff you can download to your device with your Netflix subscription. And they flat out say that one of the reasons they're doing this is the success of Xbox Games Pass. And this is why I'm like, do the people at these companies really understand why things like Xbox Game Pass works? Game Pass works because you're getting full AAA games that you download to a system, and they're yours to play as long as you have the subscription. It's the big gaming experience, just for, less money with a more reliable spend pattern if you're willing to wait a little bit for most titles. Of course, the Bethesda acquisition and all that stuff, there's going to be some exclusives on Games Pass. I never know if it's Game Pass or Games Pass. I keep messing that up. But that's a Game Pass, singular. Okay, Game Pass. There we go. But like I said, you don't hire a Zynga and EA Mobile and Facebook dude to do a Game Pass type subscription. They also mention Apple Arcade. But again, I guarantee you that the higher-ups want the Game Pass money. They like what they're seeing there. Game Pass is working very well for Xbox. Now, I think one of the things Netflix doesn't recognize is that Xbox has cultivated a particular very loyal niche in gaming. Well, they're not, the dominant force they were in the Xbox 360 era. They still have those people who grew up playing Xbox. They're brand loyal, and they like the idea of, having a predictable spend when it comes to games. They don't necessarily have to have, the game right when it comes out. They're happy to play, older stuff. And I admit, ever since I got my my PS Plus subscription, and I've been downloading the free titles and the super cheap sale titles through that service, yeah, I mean, games, slightly older games still hold up. We're getting a bit of slowdown when it comes to the sea change in terms of especially graphics, but also in terms of, gameplay features, where there's enough genres that are sort of like, yeah, we like how this plays. We don't need to reinvent the wheel, just make more interesting experiences in the genre. And I mean, obviously, going back to The Walking Dead, certain Walking Dead spin-offs were more successful artistically than others. Like, Walking Dead season 1 with Lee and Clementine. Great story, shining example of how, yeah, you can tell another story in that universe with like completely different characters and keep the fan base going. And it doesn't cannibalize the original show. It hangs on to people. I mean, that would be smart for some of these shows that they only do like 10 episodes at a time and there's more space between the seasons than there are in the seasons, which is more and more the way these shows are going. And unless you're Disney Plus that can just like cycle through the various, Marvel and Star Wars properties of, yeah, okay, you got a 2-week break and now there's another thing you're not going to want to cancel that Disney Plus subscription for, right? Middle of the month, drop for a reason. And it's 6 episodes, so it's, 3 weeks this month, 3 months next month. Disney's not dumb, right? But I guess what Netflix wants to do is to do like, series tie-in game. The challenge there is that games take a long time to develop, okay? And they're not going to make a tie-in game for every single new IP they do. They're going to wait for like season 2 of something to make sure it's popular. And then they're going to be making a game in a year. And we know what kind of games you get with a year of development. Not great ones. Now, if it's weekly content that you can push, or at least monthly updates or something like that, maybe they could make it work, make episodic, again, sort of the Telltale structure. But still, that's a very, very compressed timeline for game development. And that's why I'm arguing that they shouldn't be developing tie-in stuff, because it's very, very rare that a Netflix series goes more than 3 seasons. Even something like Lucifer was a pickup from Fox after Fox canceled the show at the end of, season 3. Full disclosure, I love Lucifer. And I actually think it's one of the shows that actually got better on Netflix. The final season on Fox was not good. But even then, the wildly popular, but they did like season 4, season 5. Did they split season 5 up? Then they split season 6 up into 2 parts. If you're willing to give a show that 3-season commitment, start the tie-in game at the jump with something like that, and then release the game in between your second and third like your penultimate season and your ultimate season, your final season. Then you can make some money. I mean, games are a low margin industry, so I don't know why they'd be investing it in an add-on. Somebody didn't necessarily do their research, but what I think, my theory is that Netflix recognizes that it cannot produce enough original IP to keep people just keeping that monthly subscription. People cancel and come back when there's stuff on that they want to watch. Netflix wants people just hanging on to their subscriptions, and they just can't make enough content that people are interested in quickly enough. And games, I guess, is their idea to fix that. I don't know why. I mean, seriously, the only games you could really make quickly enough would be full motion video games, which are basically interactive movies, because then you shoot them. You have your basic navigation and your user interface. But once you've got the scene shot, you've got the scene shot. And those scenes, I worked on the pre-production of one of those things. They do shoots in like a couple of days. I was like, guys, can we stretch it to 2 weeks? We can actually do it with a halfway decent budget. With Netflix money, you could make friggin' amazing full motion video games, because they're shot super quick And then, you just have the revisiting and the questioning the people and the all that stuff. You can do some really interesting things. And I think there is innovation in that space. Now, you're not going to clean up at award season, but Netflix doesn't need to clean up at award season. These little full motion video games would still be cheap, way, way, way cheaper to make than the big Netflix series, that look, movie quality cinematography and everything like that. It could be a win-win if they went that way. Based on who they hired, they're not going to go that way. And that makes me sad because to me, they're going to throw a whole bunch of money developing EA mobile style games that aren't going to do what they claim they're going to do, which is maintain a relationship with the fan base. I tried some of those games. You guys know I'm like a big comics nerd. I tried some of those, the Justice League mobile game and the Dragon Age mobile game. They were garbage, pay to win, gotcha horse shit. They weren't good. They weren't inspired. The inspiration was soak more money out of our core consumers, which doesn't do what they claim they want to do, which is maintain the relationship with the fandom. The best thing to do to maintain the relationship with the fandom is take a side character and tell a story with them. And that, I think, could actually solve another problem with these premium streaming services, in that forcing a character on the audience instead of easing people into liking them, right? I mean, anybody who's seen Sweet Tooth knows, little Bobby steals the show, even though he's not in it much. Imagine like a little Bobby game that you could play. And we found out more about Bobby before he came to... Bobby's this little, I don't want to spoil it too much, but Bobby's this little like furry character and he's very cute and he just sort of appears in the series. I highly recommend Sweet Tooth if you haven't seen it. First episode is, I almost didn't watch another. Give it 2 episodes before you decide if you like it or not. But yeah, this little Bobby character, and you could do just a super kawaii, like adorable Bobby game. And it wouldn't even have to be all that brilliant. It's just, Bobby, that kind of stuff could work. And that kind of stuff could be made available with your Netflix subscription. That is something I would probably play, assuming it just leans into the cute and actually does give me that ongoing relationship with the character, right? Similarly, you could have, back when they had the Marvel, shows, you could have this, they're there, they're gone, scene stealer character who they hire knowing they're not going to give the actor a ton of work in the series itself, but sign them on. They're not going to be the biggest names, but sign them on for a tie-in game that is being developed at the same time. That's the only way you can really do it. But again, you're not doing that mobile game budget and mobile game development way. You'd have to go back to like the old Sierra adventures, like Gabriel Knight type stuff. Combine like Gabriel Knight with like full motion video, keep the cast small enough, you could make a go of that. That's the way I'd do it. Is it riskier than the EA mobile model? Where, it's all free to play, but it's not free to play though, right? Why are they hiring a free to play guy? It's stuff with your Netflix subscription. If the goal is to keep people on their Netflix subscription, why are you hiring a free to play guy? It doesn't make any sense. Get somebody who's made, like I said, the Telltale games or something like a Life is Strange. That kind of thing Bring in developers that way. If they did it that way, maybe he's watching and maybe he thinks this is a good idea, but like, especially here in Canada, it's really difficult for creators to get access to Netflix. Their submission process is really, really restrictive, to the point that the Canadian government is actually trying to get involved, going, enough of your bullshit. But, and that's a big mess because of the way the bill is written. But like, there are ways. Like, okay, you don't want to invest in Canadian series. Make some games with Canadian stuff. And then if those games do well, we'll take it to series, right? I'm telling you, the budgets on these full motion video games are so teeny tiny. And they're little 6-hour experiences, 10 hours at most. That could be an interesting way to see if something catches for a lot less than a full Netflix series. There's a win-win here that, based on who they're hiring, they're not going to do. So maybe they'll see this video and maybe they'll go, that's a good idea. And hey, Mike Verdu, talk to her and do this. Probably not. But anyway, instead of just dumping on this, I do think it's a workable idea. I just don't think that the executive they hired is an indication of that sort of vision. They want those bullshit Walking Dead AR games and those terrible EA, Dragon Age Heroes, Justice League Heroes type games, which were garbage. Sad. Okay, interesting what you guys think. Help support this channel. Become a monthly patron, patreon.com/LeannaK. Thanks for watching.